All right, hello and welcome to Monday Night Coaching. And tonight I want to share with you guys the new platform that we're laying out here for our coaching program. So the Keto Weight Loss Blueprint is not only for my clients, the people that I work with, but we're also opening this up and doing a boot camp just to support people through the holidays. So it's all the same platform, just if you're my client, of course, I'm working with you a lot more closely. But everybody's in this together, we're all supporting each other. And I want to make sure that everybody gets access to this because this is something I've been looking into for a while, and I, took the plan to put all this stuff together, and it's still a work in progress, but I'm really excited about this. So if we look at this platform here, if I go down here to the subscriptions, invitations, so I've sent an invitation to everybody. So there are 11 pending invites here. So a handful of people that I've sent invites to. So it looks like we've got Sue, Judith, a couple people here. So these people have not yet accepted. So if you guys are looking for this platform, you can't find it, go check your email, make sure you check your spam folder. That way we can make sure that we get you onto this platform, because you should get an email and it should invite you in when you sign up. If you don't have access to it, the link here is school.com, skool.com/keto blueprint. And this is how you actually get to the platform. If you have a computer or a laptop, you can go to the website, or you can go to the website in the browser on your phone if you have Google Chrome or something like that. But there's also a free app that you can download on your phone that takes you to this platform. So let's go through the navigation here. I'll show you guys where to find everything. So this first tab here is the community. And the community is basically a message board. It's a way for you guys to post stuff, to ask questions, to participate. And we're breaking it into different categories. So we have the general discussion, which is things like if you have homework that you want to post, if you have a question that you want to post, you can put that stuff up here in the tabs. We have an introduction thread. If you guys have not introduced yourself, go over here, start here and introduce yourself. And that's really how you take the first step, because one of the questions that I ask you guys here is to help figure out, what do you want immediate help with inside of this community? So when you post in here, tag me, type @AlexMiller, and I'll be able to see your post. And like Bobby had joined earlier, and I gave her a direct suggestion about like, okay, this sounds like this is the number one thing that we need to fix to solve this problem that you're going through. So whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever you need, even if you don't know what it is, I'll be able to give you feedback, and I'll help you get started somewhere so that we start, taking action and trying to fix these issues. So make sure you introduce yourself and post what you need help with. That way we can actually help. So that's the introduction thread there. There's also a tab over here, questions for Coach Alex. So we're going to put one together that's a frequently asked questions. That way, if there's something that comes up all the time, we can direct you to it. Like, we'll probably put, people ask things like, what's the best protein powder? Or what types of electrolytes should I get? So we're going to collect all of those. We're going to make sure that the things that come up a lot, we're going to keep them handy for people. There's also the weekly check-in here. This is something that I think it's really important for us to have a self-reflection. So if you don't look at yourself, and you don't analyze what's going on, it's very hard to ever change anything. So a couple of the really helpful questions that a lot of people benefit from are things like, what were your non-scale victories this week? Not just your weight loss, right? But just overall in your life. Like maybe you stood up for yourself when somebody put you down, or maybe you were at the grocery store and you decided not to get the thing that you shouldn't have in the house, right? Whatever it was besides the scale number, it's really important to celebrate and to put our focus on those things. And it's also about figuring out, what lessons did we learn this week? If you had a slip, if you made a mistake, instead of calling yourself a failure and using that as justification that it's too hard and you might as well give up, you have to figure out how to learn from it. So, oh my gosh, I had too many carbs. I didn't realize that thing was bad for me. Oh my gosh, I screwed up. Well, I'm glad that I learned this. And next week when I'm looking for dessert, maybe I won't get that fruit that has a ton of sugar in it and very little fiber. Maybe I'll look for something that is a little bit lower in carbs and a little bit healthier, and that can be my dessert instead. It's a very different perspective instead of beating ourselves up and sabotaging us. There's also, what updates would you like to make to your progress tracker this week? So waist measurement, hip measurement, energy levels, how do my clothes fit? Did I find an opportunity to put myself first this week? There's a lot of things that you can track to sort of see how you're changing as a person besides just numbers. So I really recommend that everybody has some sort of progress tracker. And I should have something over here. Weight tracker. I forget what I have it called. Give me a second here. But let me pull this one open, because having something where we can keep track of the things that the progress that we're making is really, really helpful. So not just, here we go, the weight measurement tracker. I'll put this on the screen for you guys. Oops. So not just your weight once a day, but on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, it's things like being able to say, you know, on the 20th, I was 220 pounds, and then I went to 219, and then I went to 221, and then back to 219, and then I dropped to 218, and I was really happy. And then I went up to 221 again. What the hell? What's wrong? Why isn't it working? Oh my gosh. And then back down to 218, right? So if you just look at your number the previous day, you're gonna drive yourself crazy, because the scale is going to fluctuate wildly every single day, multiple times a day, when you have changes in water retention and salt retention, and you eat food or you don't eat food. The scale has very little to do with your body fat changes. Mostly you're just seeing changes in water and food in your gut that you haven't pooped out yet. So we have to track the trend, because you might have these ups and downs and be like, oh my God, I'm 220 pounds. God, I'm stalled out. It's not working. But if you track your data and you have this stuff saved, and you can kind of like look back at the past month, the past 3 months, what we can do is we can do an average, right? So 220 plus 219 plus 221 plus 219 plus 218 plus 221 plus 218. And then we divide that by 7. We actually get an average of like 219, right? But if you just look at bouncing up and down every day, you might think, oh my gosh, I'm stalled at 221, when the average for the week is 219. And then maybe the average for the next week is like 217, and then the next week is 215. So you're going to have a high, you're going to have a low, and you're going to have an average. So if you're tracking your weight and it drives you crazy, consider having a system like this, where if you're going to weigh yourself every day, you're dividing the weekly average to figure out what is actually your like median point. Or you can track once a week, or track once every 4 weeks, but just don't let yourself get frustrated and discouraged by this number, because it doesn't mean anything anyway. The only thing that really matters is, did you lose an inch or 2 off your hips the past 4 or 5 weeks? Do you have more energy? Do your clothes fit better, even if the scale is stalled out, right? And I also like to ask, you know, what factors besides fat gain might be influencing the scale? Could it be water weight that you're holding on to? Salt retention, undigested food, because maybe you haven't gone to the bathroom in a while. Maybe you're on medications that cause you to be bloated or increase your appetite, and you're not tracking your food, so you didn't realize that you're not eating in a deficit anymore. Now you're eating at maintenance. And if you started tracking your food, you'd see that, right? Or maybe you're putting on muscle because you've been lifting weights. There's a lot of things that influence how much weight we carry on our bodies. Not all of it is bad. If you lose a pound of fat and you put on 1 pound of muscle, the scale will say that you didn't lose weight, but you're significantly healthier, more energetic, and better looking, having replaced that pound of fat with a pound of muscle. But if you just look at the scale, it says it means nothing. It means nothing. So we have to track other sorts of things so that we can be encouraged and we can actually feel like we're going in the right direction. Because I want you guys to consider how many people have started a boot camp or a weight loss journey, and the scale didn't change as fast as they'd like, and they went, it's not working fast enough. Why bother? This keto sucks, or Coach Alex sucks. I'm going to go do something else. And instead of sticking with it and having enough consistency to see like long-term changes, like 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks down the line, they saw that their weight went up to 221, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm gaining weight. But what if that's because they were dehydrated before and now they're hydrated and they're not losing water? This is actually a good kind of weight gain, right? Maybe they lost a pound of body fat and they put on a pound of muscle and a pound of bone density, which is going to help them avoid falling and breaking a hip and being in a nursing home when they're an old woman. But they're so focused on the scale number dictating their self-esteem that they miss the nuances of like, some weight is lean mass. It's good for you, right? We want muscle, we want bone, we want water. So anyway, that's my spiel about that stuff. But have some sort of tracker so that you're not just like getting on the scale and then getting off, and then getting on the scale and then getting off. You have to be able to see the big picture and go, wow, look, I started at like 237 3 months ago, and now I'm 218. And even though the scale went up a pound this week, I'm down 20 pounds overall. And it's a 12-week average, right? 12 weeks from now, I'll overcome my stall just by sticking with it and keeping my head down, and I'll be down another 20 pounds. So I wish I could say that I had some sort of super fancy secret to separate me from everybody else, but I think that my secret is that I'm no nonsense. There's no secret. Everybody in the fitness industry wants to sell you something that's really like complex. And they're like, oh yeah, muscle confusion. And it's so much. The only thing that actually works, and we have the research to prove that, is sticking with something for a long period of time, whether it be keto or more carbs, fruit, no fruit. You have to be able to adhere to a lifestyle change. So don't stress out so much about these numbers going up and down, right? You got to let go of that stuff. You got to focus on the big picture. So I wanted to start with that because I know that's kind of like the main reason that people want to lose weight. They want fast progress. We have to understand that the scale might not move as fast as you want. But I know a lot of people that within 1 month on keto, they're off medication. Their blood sugar is stable for the first time in 20 years. Their doctor is thrilled. They have energy to get up and like face the day, and they have never had that. Their clothes fit better. They feel more confident in themselves. Their cravings have gone away. They don't have joint pain constantly. They don't have acid reflux. They don't have headaches. Their back doesn't hurt as much, and on and on and on and on. And then they're like, but I only lost 3 pounds this month, and somebody else lost 5. And it's like, come on, we got to focus on what really matters. All right, so that's my spiel on that. Okay, so going back to the blueprint though, there's all these different measurements that I want you guys to take. And then also, this is that self-accountability. This is what we have to do to make progress. Because I don't want you guys to like download a food plan and be like, okay, I guess I'll just do this. It's like, it's ongoing, day by day, week by week. That's why we're here, right? So what would you like to accomplish this week? If your goal is to lose 2 pounds, you have to go beyond that. What do you need to do in order to be successful? There might be a person in this Zoom chat right now. If you want to lose 2 pounds this week, you might need to decide and to commit and to be ready and willing to not snack on nuts or on cheese. You might need to like stop putting 4 tablespoons of dairy in your cup of coffee 3 times a day, right? There's some kind of imbalance that we have to take ownership of. There's some sort of balance that we can find, right? If you're not willing to cut the nuts out entirely, maybe it's time to start weighing out 1 ounce at a time and saying, I only have nuts, as a snack after dinner, and I don't eat more than 1 ounce, but some kind of boundary, because otherwise it's chaotic and it's random, it's all over the place, and we cannot control it. And we can't really guarantee that we're going to make progress. So we have to face this stuff. It's very easy to be like, oh, I got older and my metabolism is slow. But if somebody followed you around with a camera, like recording everything that you did, how many times per week do you think that they would go, that's why you're stalled? That's why you're stalled. That's why you're stalled. Don't do that. And you're probably saying that to yourself in your head when you do it, and then you do it, right? So we have to look at that stuff and go, what do I have to change, right? Am I coming home late at night and I didn't eat all day because I was busy, and then I pigged out in front of the fridge? Maybe you need to start actually taking a frickin' lunch break for 30 gosh darn minutes and feeding yourself so that you don't overeat at night, right? We have to like really be crystal clear on that stuff, because people want really easy short-term solutions where they're like, just tell me what to eat, right? Just like, what's the best snack? And it's like, telling you what the best snack is not going to solve the problem of you being afraid to set boundaries with the people in your life, or being afraid to say no to people when they pressure you, or being worried that if you delegate any of your responsibilities to your husband, he's going to screw it up because you're a control freak. Like, that stuff is harder to deal with, but that's the stuff that's actually going to matter. And we have to learn those skills and address those scarier things if we're going to make a really big change. And that's why I'm not pulling any punches. I'm not just going to be like, yeah, well, download my keto guide. It's like, just low carb. It's like, we're going to work on the deeper stuff that most of us never learned as kids. So it's a bit of tough love for you guys, but make sure you're thinking about this stuff. Big picture, what do I actually need to do? Do I need to be willing to give up the nuts? Do I need to actually make time for exercise? Have I been staying up late watching YouTube or playing video games, and I need to get more than 5 hours of sleep if I actually want my body to have a metabolism that can lose weight, right? Do I keep saying that I need to drink more water, and yet I still haven't ordered the water bottle on Amazon, right? What do we have to do? And then what questions or requests do you have this week? So if you need direction, you can tag me, and that way I see your message and I can actually reply to your check-in, right? Some people like to do it. It's like self-paced. They're just like, this is my journaling. This is my reflection. Some people are not going to post it. They're going to keep it to themselves. But if you need extra help with it, like, post in the group and say, hey guys, I thought about it, and I think I'm really having a hard time with my weight loss because I keep snacking on nuts. So what did you guys do to stop snacking on nuts? Give me some ideas. I need some help. Or, hey, I'm going on vacation and I'm kind of nervous because I don't know what I should bring with me or what I can do for food. And I don't want to come back 5 pounds heavier. Post in the group and say, hey guys, what did you do when you went on vacation, right? Like we have to prepare and to anticipate this stuff, and not just go through our lives like hoping for the best, but to prepare and to learn how to deal with these things. And I'm going to try to create a curriculum. We'll go over that to teach you guys all this stuff step by step. But there's also going to be that level of self-motivation where if you guys want to learn something, then you have to ask for it or you have to go find it. Because I can't force you to download the meal plan. I can't force you to set aside 20 minutes after work to throw something in the crock pot before you go to bed, right? There are certain things that you guys have to do, but once you sort of know what you need to do and you're ready to be accountable to that, just ask for help and we'll try to make it as easy as we can. So that's the check-in here. The Zoom call recordings, a lot of people have been asking me about those, how to figure that out. We'll put the Zoom call recordings here, and then there's also going to be a section in the classroom. And so for the classroom, we can upload those and they'll be saved there. So all these different things are categories. So when you go to the community, up here, you'll see this box that says write something. So you click here, and then you can go, what's the best protein powder? Or whatever question is, whatever you need help with, right? Why am I not losing weight, right? And we have a discussion and we can try to help you, right? Or either point you in the right direction, or I can ask you some questions like, well, when you say that you're not losing weight, like, what's in your food log that might be a problem, right? And we can figure it out together. Okay, so next we go to the classroom, and this is going to organize all the different lessons and resources and different topics. And I'm really excited about this one because I think that most people never build a foundation. They just start to focus on like, hey, what should my food plan be? And they don't have a foundation to actually be consistent with the food plan. So this is what's most important, okay? So when we go to the classroom here, we go to the first one is the Keto Weight Loss Blueprint. And there's this guide here that says start here. So the first one is to introduce yourself. So go here, introduce yourself, make a post below like everybody else has been doing. And people are replying to each other and making a community, and that's really important because I want you guys to all connect with each other. I've got some that are work in progress, so I'm going to work on this, which is actually creating a guide, because some people have trouble figuring out how to download Zoom or how to sign into Zoom or where the Zoom calls are saved. So I'll make a video going over that. It's also got things that you guys need to understand about ketosis. And I wanted to cover this with you, go over this with you guys in the first week, because if I just gave you a food plan this weekend and said, okay, go figure it out, like it's very possible you would get sick. Because if you do keto improperly, you get the keto flu, you get dehydrated, and then you freak out and you're like, well, this isn't right for me, I'm going to quit the program. And then nothing changes in your life. So I want to make sure that this first week, we're actually creating structure, we're figuring out the plan, and we're understanding some of the nuances and the pros and cons of this lifestyle change, so that you can kind of like put together a shopping list, you can figure out your food plan, and it's better suited for each individual rather than being one size fits all. And then it doesn't work for some people and they get frustrated. So this is a bit of a, kind of the things that you need to understand. If you've never done keto before, or if you don't really understand it, make sure you read all of this because it's going to explain the science. So I'm not just some guy in a Facebook group. I personally lost 200 pounds with a low carb lifestyle change. After I did that, so the first thing that I did was I did it, right? I was successful. I did it properly. After having figured it out and doing it properly, I then went and further reinforced how good I am at this and how much I know what I'm talking about by becoming a nutritionist, right? And a nutrition coach professionally, right? Spending many, many tens of thousands of dollars on my education. So I'm not just some random person. I personally have experience doing what all of you guys want to do. And I have the professional certifications to back it up, right? This is not conjecture. This is proven science. Everybody always says, I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. It's so confusing. It's really not. The nutritional science is figured out to a T. The problem is that people get frustrated that they're not losing weight as fast as they think they should. And they start to second guess the facts, right? We know that a calorie deficit is required for fat loss. We understand that the one thing that is required to get into ketosis is not eating lots of fat. It's not taking ketones. It's limiting carbs. That's it, right? So I'm just going to break it down for you guys. No nonsense. Like I'm really going to make it easy for you guys. So as you're reading through this stuff, if anything sort of contradicts other things that you've read, we'll have a conversation about it. I'm open to being proven wrong, but I've been in other communities where it's like I was in a community talking to one of the carnivore doctors, and one of the carnivore doctors out there still has something in his group that's like, oh, if you eat too much protein, it converts into sugar and it kicks you out of ketosis. And this is literally not true, right? Too much protein doesn't convert into sugar and kick you out of ketosis. So there's a lot of myths out there. If you guys have conflicting information, you're not sure who to believe, ask me for sources and challenge me to like prove what I'm talking about and to show you like why I'm saying the things that I say. And I can almost guarantee you, I'm one of the few people that you'll see like as an influencer that will actually sit down with you and go, this is where I'm getting this from. This is why I believe it's true. This is the name of the, person in the group who personally has experience and can vouch for the fact that this advice works, right? So I'm happy to share that with you guys because I want to take all the guesswork out of it. I don't want you guys to doubt this stuff or to feel overwhelmed. Let's just act on the science so that we can get really, really good results like I did, right? So go down all this stuff. It talks about health benefits. It talks about health risks. It talks about, what else do I have down here? How to activate ketogenic metabolism. No nonsense, just the golden rules, right? How many carbohydrates should you eat? It has all this stuff, right? We go over a lot of myths and time wasters. You don't need urine strips or blood meters. You don't need to eat fat, right? So read over these modules because I put these together to give you guys that crash course. And this is a bit of a quick start guide as well, how to get into ketosis and lose 5 pounds fast. So in the first week, if you guys do this, it's going to just get you started. And we're going to get into some deeper stuff. We're going to learn more about like meal planning. We're going to learn more about how calories work and how to track your food and like all that sort of slightly more complicated stuff that's a little bit harder to learn. But if you just want to start somewhere really easy, just do this section here, how to get into ketosis and lose 5 pounds fast. Okay, so the next section, before we start going into downloading Carb Manager or putting together a meal plan or going shopping, the next section is called building confidence and self-esteem. And the first lesson, lesson number 1, how to stop procrastinating and start, right? Because so many people have a lot of trouble with this. If you're still stuck, if you're like, oh, I really need to lose weight, but I can't really seem to find any momentum, I keep flaking on it, I'm scared, I'm like making excuses for why I can't commit to this, make sure you go through these lessons. Because this is how to deal with the mindset, how to overcome your fear of change, how to overcome your fear of failure, how to build self-esteem so that you can finally put yourself first, understanding how to have control in your life, how to believe in yourself, right? So these things are really important. And I wrote these based on the lessons that I had to learn so I could finally take care of myself properly and not just beat myself up and hate my body, but actually like do the things that I needed to do to get healthy, right? And then the next section, we're going into some of the laws of weight loss and muscle building. And so we're going to develop these more over the course of the week. I didn't want to put too much in here because then you guys sort of get like overwhelmed. It's like, oh, I have like 20 pieces of homework this week. It's a lot. So I didn't want to put everything up right away. We're going to release it kind of slowly over time as we go through the weeks. But really the first thing that I want everybody to start with is just kind of going through the first couple of modules here. Get started, introduce yourself to the community, sort of understand like the basic science of keto, understand the basic science of metabolism and weight loss. That way, if you're not necessarily doing keto yet, maybe you're learning about it. Maybe I have you on a sort of like I've customized a higher carb plan for you. You're not doing keto. It's totally fine, but the science applies to anybody, whether you're keto or not, right? So go through all of these. If you have problems with confidence and mindset, make sure you watch the modules on building confidence and self-esteem. And we're going to go a bit deeper this week. After people get sort of onboarded, they get familiar with the layout of everything. We're going to go deeper into some of the structure, like how to plan meals, how to set up Carb Manager. All that kind of stuff is going to come in the next couple of days. All right, I will also show you guys this one. This is the calendar. So if you guys haven't seen the calendar, this one's really helpful because if you ever need to know, like, when is the Zoom? When do we do Zoom meetings? It's going to show it here in the calendar in your time zone. So for me, Monday night is 2 p.m. Honolulu time. This is going to be 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I'm 6 hours behind. So I don't know if you can see up here, but it says 2:28 p.m. here in Hawaii. So if you're on the East Coast, it's 8 p.m. on Monday night, 7 p.m. on Wednesday night, and 8 p.m. on Thursday night. But go to the classroom because it'll convert to your time zone. I think some people are Pacific, so it's 5 p.m. Pacific on Monday and Thursday. And then it would be 4 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday. If you're Central Time, it's, I believe, 7 p.m. Central on Monday and Thursday, and then 1 hour earlier on Wednesdays. So it would be 6 p.m. Central. But I want to take a pause here. We went over the community. We went over like how to ask questions, how to post here, how to find kind of like a weekly progress review, the list of Zoom call recordings. We also went over the classroom, which is where to find these different lessons and different modules. We're also gonna have things like, I'm gonna upload like how to create your meal plan, how to print out shopping lists for proteins and fats and things like that. So all those sorts of resources will be here. Or if there's something specific you're looking for, you just ask and we'll show you where to get it, right? But this is basically a place to organize all the different spreadsheets and documents and printouts all in one place so that it's easy to reference. And then finally, we have the calendar. So when you come into the calendar, if you click on the day, it'll show you what's the topic. So Monday night, we're going to do meal planning. It has the Zoom link as well. So you don't have to remember the Zoom link or bookmark it or anything. If you just come to the school platform, you can click it right here. You can also add it to your calendar. So if you have Google, if you have Apple, Outlook, you can put it on your calendar so that it pings you and it reminds you, it goes, oh, hey, we've got a call coming up in an hour, right? That way it helps to stay organized. So those are kind of the basic things so far, but does anybody have questions about any of that, or is anybody still confused about anything? Oh, Rosie says, is the weight and measurement tracker on the school platform or anywhere else? Yeah, so weight, I think it's called weight and measurement tracker, yeah. So this is an Excel sheet, and that's what I was talking about, is this is one of the things that I just have like a million different Google documents, so it's just a lot. So I'll create a PDF version, and I'm going to upload it into the school group. So download PDF. I'll create that. And then, yeah, I'll show you guys an example of what I'm going to do. So let's go to the community. We're going to go to the check-in. I'm not sure if I can actually attach. I might be able to attach it here. Yeah, it might not let me put an attachment. Yeah, I have to look more into that. But what I will do is I'll take this link here. And so I'll take this link and I'll put it in here. So let me edit this. Here is a sample tracking spreadsheet that you can print out or copy into a notebook. So if you have a basic, spiral notebook or something like that to take notes on, you can kind of create the same format as well, where it's like, this is the date, this is my weight today, this is my measurements, things that I'm doing well with, things that I want to learn more about, get help with, right? And then also, I think it's a really good idea. Every time you guys weigh yourself, just write down the number, look at, the previous month to kind of see how the trend is going. Because maybe you've lost 5 pounds in the past 3 weeks, but it just didn't move this week. You're still making progress, right? Sometimes it just stalls out a little bit. But if you look back a month and every single time you weigh in, it's exactly the same, or it's going up a pound every week, it's really good to be able to see that data and to know, okay, I'm trending upwards. My calories are much too high. I've got to do something, right? So I'll put that link here. But it looks like this. I'll open it again for you guys. Because I do think it's really important to take a note of this sort of thing for like your journal. That way you have a way to track yourself. So I'm going to leave it on the screen here if you guys want to copy it down. But it's date, weight, waist and hips are the most important measurements just for your metabolic health, because these are the things that measure your abdominal obesity. So as your waist and your hip measurements come down, that's how we know that the visceral fat that's around your organs is actually shrinking, because the belly fat is the most dangerous fat. So you can measure your biceps, you can measure your calves, whatever else you enjoy. And like, if there's certain things that you're wanting to tone up, or, you don't like your thighs or something like that, you can measure whatever you want. I would just say that these are the 2 most important. And if these are coming down steadily, your weight does not matter. Because a lot of people, they lose like 5 inches off their waist, they get off of their insulin, but they might be on some sort of like some sort of medication that makes them retain water. And so the scale just keeps like, any fat that they lose, it kind of like adds more and more water, but they're smaller. So that's the only thing that truly matters, is that you're smaller, not that the scale is down. All right, I see a hand up. What's up, Nicole?
I love this. Thank you. So when you were showing us the calendar, so Monday nights is typically, tonight's introduction, obviously, but Monday nights, what is Monday nights typically? Is that like food planning or talking about what to eat? What, and
Yeah,
then
so
Wednesday
it's kind of like
and Thursday,
general,
what are those days?
yeah, so Monday is kind of a general check-in. Sometimes I just go down the list. It's like, let me answer questions. Let me see what everybody wants to work on this week. A lot of the times it's like, yeah, I need help motivating me to exercise. And so I'll go down the list and be like, okay, like what time do you want to exercise? Do you want to like, go for a walk and listen to a podcast? What's going to motivate you? Do you want to give yourself like a spa day at the end of the week if you do your workouts? So we're just like bouncing ideas back and forth and trying to brainstorm tips for people, to help out. And that way it's because that's how people like set goals and actually like figure out what is my routine going to be? How am I going to structure my week? That stuff really helps, right? Like, I know for me, if I sit down with my coach and they're like, okay, do this week. I'm like, okay, thank God. Like, because if I'm just trying to figure it out, it's, I should really do this, but I don't know, I'm kind of busy. But if we can break it down and just go, okay, like on Wednesday night at 1 p.m., I look at my calendar and, I don't have anything going on until 2. Okay, at 1 o'clock, I'm going to do my resistance bands, right? Like we can just have a structure that we can follow. So Monday night is usually, some sort of goal setting. We're working on that sort of stuff. But it's also, if we want to figure out recipes for the week, if people need help with their macros. So this is just much more about like the hands-on coaching and helping everybody get organized and prepared for the rest of the week.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And then Wednesday is what do you do on Wednesday?
So Wednesday night is kind of like it's a topic of the week. So
Okay.
I go live and I'll sort of like do a lecture. I'll do some sort of presentation on some topic. So I forget what we did last week. And I think last week might have been the one on exercise, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a kind of a class specifically going into like, if you're trying to have a good exercise plan, it's like you need to eat protein, you need to sleep. These are the things that provide the metabolic fuel for muscle growth. And then, if you have injuries, like we have to start with a progression. You can't go 0 to 100 right away because you're going to hurt yourself. So, this is how we sort of like take those baby steps to build up to a routine. So it's usually some sort of lesson or kind of going over a specific topic, whereas Monday nights is a little bit more just whatever people come with, we try to help everybody out. Thursday night is a book club, and we're doing Atomic Habits by James Clear. Okay. So I put the information here. Yeah, so I put the information on this link. If you click this on the calendar, it'll say, join us live every Thursday night for the book club. Currently, we're reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. We read a new chapter together every Thursday night on Zoom. And then it has the link here to go get the book on Amazon. So it's all
awesome.
Fairly organized. Yeah.
The reason why I ask is because my work schedule is kind of crazy sometimes. And I just want to make sure, because I finally committed to this, that I make sure that I come on the most important night, which I think is Monday at this point. I could probably watch the other ones at a different time. Monday's the more interactive conversation about being stuck or making friends and learning about other people's goals and what's working for them. Okay.
Yeah. I think Monday night is going to be the most helpful for most people because it's just the most hands-on. And yeah, so I just wanted to kind of give you guys the intro here and have something that people could watch a replay so they can kind of navigate. We also have one for members, so it shows everybody that's in the group. We have cars honking outside. We also have leaderboards. The leaderboards are really cool because as you go and you post in the group and you participate and you answer questions and you ask questions, you're going to level up. And as you start to reach higher and higher levels, you're going to unlock the rest of the course. So after you've reached level 5, you're going to unlock the course that's called Breaking Plateaus and Getting the Weight Off. So this is for people that have been doing, they've kind of already spent some time building the basic foundations. Once you've gotten good at the basic foundations, you've kind of unlocked the right to go to the more advanced stuff. But if you're like, oh, my weight loss is stalled and I need to fast for 3 days straight. Well, if your stress is really high and you don't sleep, your metabolism is already screwed up. And less food is going to put more stress on your body and cause you to hemorrhage muscle mass, which is going to destroy your metabolism. So before we start going into like egg fasting for 5 days straight and, carnivore and all this stuff that can be more of a stress on your body, we have to make sure that, some of those foundations are a little bit better built. So we want to, over time, kind of build on that. And I can manually unlock it for people if they're ready to go. But it's kind of a way to, it's called gamification. So, you know, we're thinking of doing prizes and things like that for the most active people that score the most points. We might give away some prizes and things like that. So that's pretty much the layout of the group, though. The most important parts are the community. That's where we do all the coaching, like ask your questions. I'll show you how to, you know, how to make progress, how to do things. Classroom is where we store a lot of the resources. So you want to come over here, scroll down. Anything that you feel you need, just make sure to watch it. And you can also check it off the list. So when you finish the lesson, you click this little button. And then down here, we can see that I've completed it. And then next I go to this one, I can check that one off to show that I've completed it. So this is, a lot of people have said like, hey, I need to go back to basics. I need to, you know, figure this out because I'm off track. And it's like, okay, go back to basics, check it, you know, uncheck it and check it off the list once you feel like you've mastered it. And that's a really good way to make sure, like, you know, if you don't know how to drink water, then you need to learn how to drink water, and you need to follow the advice that I put in there so that you can be consistent with drinking water. Because if you can't learn that most basic thing, you know, toning up your muscles and working out 4 days a week is probably like really far outside of your reach, right? Like we have to kind of build one thing at a time. So that's why I think this curriculum is going to be so helpful for people to just have something where they can check things off the list. And then again, the calendar is where it has all the Zoom information and kind of, you know, can save the Zoom link and things like that. All right, so that's the basic layout of the platform though. And again, everybody has the email. If you don't have the email, it's in your spam folder. And if it's not in your spam folder, make sure you send me a message. Let me know to email it to you again so we can get you set up. But other than the platform, does anybody have any questions about the boot camp or how to find things or how it works? Awesome. Yeah. If you guys do have questions, of course, just message me. But I mean, that's pretty much it. We're doing 3 Zoom classes a week so that you can stay in touch. You can come and talk to us face to face, be here live. We have the forum, which is more of like a text-based portal to ask questions and get help. We're going to do like prizes and giveaways and fun stuff like that to try to keep you guys motivated. And then there's the curriculum where I'm going to be adding a lot more stuff to that, and I'll be doing announcements. So after tonight, I'm going to show you guys like how to sort of get set up, how to structure yourselves. And then I'm going to put that lesson up into the platform so that you do it with me and you can sort of like apply it and understand it. And then you can reference that after. So let's start off with we'll take a couple of notes here. When it comes to the week ahead, what do you guys all need for your structure? Do you need to figure out how to meal plan? Do you need recipe ideas? Type them in the chat down below, and we're going to create a list and we're going to cover everything today. And I'll show you guys how to do this. Because I could kind of like, I could do like a lecture and just go, you know, top to bottom and answer everything. But I think it's a lot better if we figure out what people really need and just answer those questions directly. Because maybe you all have your recipes and we don't need to spend 15 minutes on that, right? So type it in the chat, or you can unmute yourself if you have a question or a request so that we can get everybody covered tonight.
Hey, Alex, I have a question.
Yeah.
So with the blueprint, is that different than the boot camp, or is it all combined on there?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Okay,
yeah,
okay. So I just want to make sure I'm not like missing something.
Oh no, yeah, it's all combined because I don't want to. I'm trying to actually reduce the number of apps and different, you know, Google Documents, and it's because there's just a million different things. So the idea is that it's all going to be in the same place. All of the people that I'm working one-on-one or doing private coaching with, that's just going to be like a platform where you get all of your lessons, all of your downloads, anything that I direct, right? We're working together on Zoom and it's like, you know, we're doing your check-in. It's like, oh, I'm not drinking enough water. Then I can go, okay, like let's bounce ideas back and forth. Let's figure out what do we need to do to, you know, maybe we put water bottles all over the house. We start to do habit stacking and all these different strategies. But then I can also be like, and your homework for the week is I want you to go watch my video in the group about water, and you know, that way you can kind of learn about some of the strategies for that. So yeah, it's just a way to cover all the bases. And then for people that I'm not working with, they, you know, they have like a forum. They have the videos. We don't have the private coaching, but the boot camp is basically so the portal is what's called evergreen. Like all the video lessons, all that stuff is just always going to be there for all my clients. The boot camp is more of a focused thing where it's like starting today all the way until January 1st, That's kind of like a 12-week holiday boot camp to just stay focused, to try to like help, just work with each other to get each other through the holidays, right? It's not like a different thing necessarily. It's not like a separate thing. It's just, that's kind of, I guess to explain, it's like the structure and the school group that I put together. We're going to do it together, and everybody can sort of use it and benefit from it. That is the program itself, is that platform. It's more of a, we just have a structure, and we have like week after week, 12 weeks in a row. We're going to be talking about things that are relevant to the holidays, temptations, things like that. So yeah, it's all the same thing. It's more of just like the topics and the focus for the next 12 weeks. But does that make more sense?
Oh yeah, it does. Thank you.
Perfect. All right, so let's see. Getting enough proteins so I'm not hungry. Yep, so let me show you guys the basics for proteins real quick. This is the easiest way to do it. If you are tracking on your carb manager, it's going to give you your number when you calculate it. And I think I think it was somebody else actually that had mentioned that they're really hungry and they're struggling after dinner, and it's causing them to graze and to snack. I think that might have been the same person that was eating a lot of nuts. So they could be related, right? It's like if you're hungry and you're snacking on nuts, it's going to stall your weight loss. So eating more food in a way that's controlled, you might worry, oh, but I don't want to stall out if I eat a bigger dinner. Well, you're definitely going to stall out if you don't eat enough to suppress your hunger, and then you snack on like, the nuts are like triple as many calories as having a bigger dinner, right? But if we look over here, for example, if my protein target is 130 grams per day, this is like the most easy cut and dry way to just like nail your macros, right? How many meals do we want to have per day? I do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, no snacks, right? So I'm going to take 130, divide it by 3, and my average per meal should be about 43 grams. And then the way that we're going to figure out what that means is if we go in here, let's say I want to do like a pork chop, right? So lean pork. I know that for me, if I want to hit about that, 6 ounces of meat is going to be about 48 grams of protein. So if I just have 6 ounces of meat for every meal, that's my standardized, repeatable portion size. I'm always going to hit my protein and I never have to think about it. So that's just the most cut and dry way to do it. The problem here is that sometimes people are like, oh, but I'm too full. What if I can only eat 4 ounces of protein? And I'm not hitting my protein because I'm only doing 4 per meal instead of 6 per meal. So here's the quick answer to that. If your body is full, your body knows better than a macro tracker does. If your body is telling you to stop eating food, listen to your body. If your protein is only 100 and you're like, oh my God, I'm stuffed, I don't want more chicken. Stop force feeding yourself. It's not gonna make sense to do that for fat loss if the goal of fat loss is to eat less. So pretty much eat as much protein as you can per meal until you're full and like don't want to eat. And does anybody ever worry that like if they let themselves eat until they actually feel full and satisfied, they're gonna not lose weight? And so they try to like have small portions. See a show of hands if anybody ever worries about that. Yeah, I see a couple of hands come up. Okay, so I want to show you guys why it's so good to eat protein until you're stuffed, right? Eat as much protein as you can until you're like, oh my God, I never want to eat food again. It sounds crazy, but this is a really weird trick that helps a lot with weight loss and kind of like dealing with cravings and overeating. So let's say that I'm going to eat my protein. Like I'm going to go, for me, I can eat a lot of protein. I could probably eat like 8 ounces of pork chop, and I could, I wouldn't be so stuffed that I'd be sick. But if I hit like 10 to 12 ounces in one sitting, I'm going to be pretty grossed out, right? But let's see what this would actually do, right? If we add if I were to do 10 ounces of pork chop, I would only be getting 482 calories. I'd be getting 80 grams of protein, 16 grams of fat. So here's the cool thing about protein that not a lot of people know. We all tend to focus a lot on, oh, I'm doing keto, I should eat a lot of fat. Or people are like, oh, fat is bad, I should eat a lot of carbs. And people don't focus enough on protein. Here's one of the things with protein. As far as macronutrients go, the foods that we eat, the way that we digest protein, it's very, very difficult to digest protein. The metabolic processes that are responsible to digest protein cost a lot of energy, which means in order to digest protein, you have to burn a lot of extra calories. So if I eat 400 calories worth of protein, my body is going to burn off 100 of those calories, not from exercise, just to digest the protein. It has to lose about 25% of the calories in the protein. So if we eat a lot of protein and we feel full and stuffed, it doesn't like turn into fat and stick to us. It actually raises our metabolic rate and causes us to burn more calories. But if you undereat the protein and you stuff yourself with as much fat as possible, you only burn off about 3% of calories from fat as opposed to 25%. So fat will stick to you way more than protein will. So if your protein is always really low, like let's say you only get half your protein and then you're like, oh my gosh, I need more fat. I got to like drink olive oil. You're not doing yourself any favors in terms of metabolism. So we want to make sure that we're basically, you don't have to force feed yourself protein if you don't want to, but you should be comfortably stuffed after a meal. You should be able to finish a meal and go, oh my God, I don't want to eat for like, I don't even want to think about food for like 5 hours because I'm stuffed. But you don't want to be so full and so bloated and so sick that you wouldn't be able to get up and like walk around, right? So it's kind of like it's a sweet spot between I'm full enough to go 4 or 5 hours without having my stomach rumble like I need food again, but I can still go up and live my life and not want to throw up, right?
Thanks,
So,
Alex. I've been trying to get ready for this, and the other day I made chicken in the air fryer, and I portioned out 6 ounces of chicken and just maybe a half a cup of rice, and I was so stuffed. I was like, oh my God. So like, I think part of the problem of not tracking food and also just not really being good at meal planning yet, I tend to eat like I grew up. We did a lot of pastas, a lot of potatoes, a lot of that kind of stuff. So switching those gears and getting out of having like a hamburger helper type of thing and having more of a protein, a vegetable, and a smaller amount of carbs or no carbs is going to be, I think, important for me, because I was so stuffed after that chicken. I didn't want to eat a candy bar or anything else that was bad for me.
yeah, it's definitely a bit of a change, and we're going to get more into that. But I would say, probably the most basic way to meal plan, I already sent you the meal planning template that kind of walks you through it, but just start with protein. Like look up protein-based meals, and maybe one of them is like, oh, I want to do the cracked chicken in the crock pot, and I want to do like, maybe I want to do beef and broccoli stir fry, and maybe I want to do, burgers with chaffles as the bun instead of a bread, right? And so there you've already got 3 recipes for the week. Maybe you make a couple servings of each of those. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you do the burger. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, you have the beef and broccoli. But it's just about structuring. I think people overthink this stuff, and we have to just shut our brains off. It's like, I'm just gonna have a burger for dinner. I'm gonna have bacon and eggs for breakfast. Like, just do it. Just do it. Don't overthink it, right? Like, follow along with that. The template. It's figure out what's on sale this week. Buy those proteins. Look up recipes that use those cheap on sale proteins. Figure out a time of the week when you have an hour of free time to cook, and then go throw your laundry in at the same time and multitask and do everything all at once, right? Get the family together. If the kids are picky eaters, make sure maybe you're going to do cauliflower mac and cheese because they want mac and cheese, but you want them to not be diabetic when they're 16, right? So just kind of go down that structure, and it's a lot simpler than I think a lot of us think it is. Once we kind of sit down and we prioritize and we go, okay, I'm just going to throw chicken and vegetables into the crock pot, and I'm going to put sugar-free barbecue sauce on it, right? But if you're thinking, oh my God, I need to cook like keto lasagna, and that's going to take me 90 minutes, and all that stuff that's complicated, the reason that people don't stick to weight loss plans is because they're complicated and they're inconvenient and they're difficult. So stop trying to make it like that, right? Just have a burger with no bun, or bacon and eggs, right? And you can do bacon and eggs for dinner, right? Like, it doesn't have to be super complex. And I think that people get the best results when it is not complex at all. People are going to get better results and be more consistent when you eat meals that are quick to throw together versus trying to make keto lasagna or, whatever the fancy stuff is. Do that if you have time and if it's like a special occasion. But other than that, don't overthink it or get overwhelmed. Because the way that I ate for a year and a half to lose all my weight was I would take 2 pre-cooked sausages that I bought at Costco, and I would slice them, and I would get a bag of frozen broccoli, and I would microwave the broccoli, and I would heat up the pre-cooked sausages, and then I would put sauce on it, like hot sauce, and I would just have like combinations of meat and vegetables. And I spent very, very little time in the kitchen ever because I didn't want to cook and I was lazy and I didn't want to deal with it. And I ate the same thing, on most days. I ate basically a big salad of some sort with protein and fat on it. And I had meat and vegetables and bacon and eggs and just combinations to kind of keep the variety going. But I didn't want to have to figure out my macros. So I figured if all of my meals are like 5 carbs or less, I'll always be in ketosis. And so it was less about willpower and it was more about just a system that I committed to. And I just did that over and over again, and it makes it a lot easier. But we'll go into that a little bit more throughout the week. Have you had a chance though to like follow along with that meal planning template? And if anybody doesn't have that template, we're going to upload it after the call so you can check it out.
I don't remember where I saw it, Alex, honestly. So when you upload it again, I'll look at it.
Yeah, I'll walk you through it real quick, guys. So here's the first page, meal planning strategy guide. So step by step, right? Look at your calendar, block off time, make it a recurring appointment every single week. It has to be non-negotiable, just like if you were taking your child to the doctor. Because if you don't make time for it, you're just going to get busy with other stuff and you're going to procrastinate. So that's the setup, right? So step 1 is you got to look up sales and let that determine what types of proteins you're going to stock up on. And you can kind of save and print your favorite recipes in blogs or websites. And then you get your family together, you look up a couple of recipes to try out this week for variety, and you make sure to like get the picky eaters to agree on something in advance, right? Don't just like try to get, and then they're like, oh, but I don't want to eat that. And you're like, oh my gosh, I guess we'll order pizza. You have to be prepared, right? Next, create a meal plan for the week's calendar. So we're going to do taco salad on Tuesday night, and we're going to do salmon and vegetables on Thursday nights for dinner, and have some sort of structure that takes the guesswork out of it. Next, you got to take notes of the ingredients that you're going to need. If you want to make chicken coconut curry, you make sure that you have chicken. You go to the pantry, the fridge. Do I have chicken? Do I have coconut milk? What are we running low on? What do we need to buy? Based on all of that, you create a shopping list. You take your shopping list to the store and you get what you need. And then I'm going to put this in here. Shop around the outer edges of the store and then get the hell out, right? Almost nothing in the middle of the store is good for you guys. And then come home and multitask, do your laundry, throw some food in the crock pot so that you don't have to be at the stove, like actively watching it. Do some cleaning, do some work, get all your stuff done in like a 1 or 2 hour block of time on the weekend. That's how I maintain sanity, is that I do everything in 2 hours on it every Sunday. I do a bunch of meal prep. I do all the laundry for me and my girlfriend all in like 2 hours, right? Just throw it all in there and, timer goes off and you go get it. So we want to kind of like stack and combine all these different things that we have to do rather than trying to like have the willpower to be like, oh, I've been at work all day and I'm tired and now I have to go meal prep. It's probably not going to happen. Or you're like, oh, I'll go to the gym eventually this week, but I'm just so busy. It's not going to happen. You're going to still be busy in 4 days, right? So having a structure like this that we can follow is really the secret. And this is a skill that people can learn. A lot of people are disorganized, not because they're weak, but because they never developed the habit of organization. And so if we ever want to learn to be consistent, we have to realize that this is a skill. It's something that we have to practice, and we have to apply ourselves to doing that. And that's really where the accountability is here. When we think about accountability, it's not like I'm just going to like snap my fingers and make you have willpower. It's not how that works. It's like, if you know that you need to meal prep and you're in the group and you know that people are going to be like, hey, how'd that meal prep go? Right? How much weight did you lose this week? It keeps you honest with yourself, because you have to stop and look at yourself and go, I actively decided to go to the movies instead of meal prepping on Sunday at 6 p.m. like I said I was going to do. And so that's the accountability, is like, what do we need to do and how are we going to make that happen, right? Yeah, that's pretty much this thing. We've also got a recipe search. I put some websites here. We got Keto Connect. That's one of my favorites. But just save your favorite websites, print them out, put them in a little Rolodex, which I think Laura had mentioned was what she does. Keep those recipes handy so that you can repeat them over and over. Put something like this up on your fridge, right? Put like a magnetic calendar that you got from Amazon, right? I can share one of those with you guys. But, Monday, maybe we have a list like this, right? Bacon and eggs every Monday for breakfast. Bulletproof coffee on Tuesday. Chaffles on Wednesday. And here's the thing, you don't have to do a new recipe over and over and over, 21 recipes a week. You just copy and you paste. So Monday and Thursday, we do bacon and eggs, right? And then Tuesday and Friday, we do the bulletproof coffee. Saturday or Wednesday and Saturday, we do chaffles. And then maybe Sunday, it's like, you know, I don't know, bacon and eggs again. But just to kind of have something where we can just like prep things, we can make extra, we can put them in the freezer. And that helps a lot to save time and to not have to worry about it. I personally really like when my girlfriend's like, what are we going to do for dinner? And I just look at the fridge and I go, well, it's Monday night and, you know, it says burgers. So we're doing burgers, right? And then she's like, oh, you know, do you want to go to the, you know, go get food and say, you know, it's going to cost us $50 for Korean barbecue. And I'm like, nope, we're going to make burgers, right? So it just really helps with the organization. And then you can create your shopping list as well. So, you know, what proteins do we want to have? Maybe we want to do like, you know, turkey pinwheels this week. So let's put turkey breast on the menu. What about dairy? Well, we're out of cheese. You know, let's get some shredded cheese. What about fats and oils? You know, maybe we'll get some, maybe we'll try some ghee. You know, I'm going to get some ghee this week. But it's just a couple of examples of things you can put on the shopping list for the different categories and the different food groups. So you can think, you know, if your family eats carbs or if you eat more carbs, it's like, you know, do I want rice, potatoes? Does my body tolerate pasta and bread? Or do I have a gluten issue or a thyroid issue? Because if you have a thyroid issue, gluten is a huge problem. You don't want to eat bread and pasta. You know, do I tolerate these types of foods? But having something like this where you can have the categories and just decide, you know, what am I going to do this week? What do the kids want? What does my partner want? What kind of recipes do I want? It really helps with organization. But that's this template here. So I'll put this in the Zoom chat. And that way you guys can open the Google Doc and then like print it out. And then I'll upload it into the group as well and create some templates for you guys. A couple of people said, I do need the bootcamp info. If you don't see it in your email, check spam folder. If it's not in the spam folder, text me tonight. That way I can double check that we have the right email. Well, actually, you know what? Send me the email that you want me to send it to. Because if you gave me a different email than you normally use, it might just be in an email you don't look at. Okay. Having trouble eating the fat bombs. Okay. So what's giving you trouble eating the fat bombs, Laura? Because I've heard people say before, if they eat something that's like really, really high fat, especially if you don't have a gallbladder, or if you've had bariatric surgery, some people don't do well with really high fat. So we have to, you know, sometimes we have to do a lower fat approach.
It's the greasy taste in your mouth.
Yeah, if it feels too greasy or if there's too much fat, you can either cut back on the fat or just skip it and do a different recipe. Like you can do like another burger or something like that. Pretty much like really the key for the fat fast is you just want to eat more fat and not so much of the protein. So instead of having like lean chicken, do chicken thighs with the skin on. Or instead of doing a sirloin steak, do a ribeye. Or instead of doing a tuna fish, do salmon. So just try to emphasize the fat more. But you don't necessarily have to have like 5 tablespoons of butter on everything if it's kind of grossing you out a little bit.
Yeah, the butter in the tea grossed me out.
Yeah. Did you blend it though? Because if you don't blend it, it's going to be really.
I stirred and stirred and stirred and
Stirred?
stirred. And no.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Like it's not mandatory. You didn't fail the week because you didn't want to have the greasy stuff. If you don't like it, you don't like it. So just do something else from the menu that you'd like better, or just cut back on the fat until it's more palatable for you. Okay.
Sounds good.
Awesome. All right. I like mixed nuts, but I don't eat them too often. I have them measured in 1 ounce containers. That's what I recommend. If you guys don't want to just like not allow yourself to eat nuts, but you have a bad habit of like sitting in front of the TV and you have the whole jar and you're snacking on them and you're not thinking about it. And, you know, if somebody offered you $1,000 to be like, tell me exactly how many calories you just ate sitting here. And you were like, you'd be like, oh, I don't know. I can't win that money. Like that's probably a problem. But, you know, if I watch a person eat nuts, I bet I can guess how many calories they just ate. You guys might think like, oh, what's that? Probably 200 calories. A lot of the times, if I'm watching, I bet it would be like 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 calories. Because I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me look at my Zoom. I'll show you guys what one portion of nuts looks like. Once I can see my video. Do you see my thumb right here? This is like one portion of nuts. This is like between 100 and 200 calories. How many of us only eat this many nuts? No, we eat like this many nuts, right? It's like a gigantic handful. How many calories are in that? Like 1,000. If you want to know why you're stalled, it's because you're not in a calorie deficit, you're in a calorie surplus. You're probably like 1,000 calories above your daily limit. So if you stop eating kind of like impulsively and you have fixed portion sizes where you either don't eat nuts because it's hard to moderate, or you weigh them in advance and it's like, okay, when I have my snack on Thursday between lunch and dinner, I'm not going to eat out of the box. I'm going to have exactly 28 almonds. It's been pre-weighed. I know that it's exactly 1 ounce and it's 180 calories and it's 5 grams of carbs. That's another thing, by the way. Nuts have a lot of carbs. So if it's 5 carbs for one portion and you're having 6 portions at a time, that's 30 carbs at a time. And so you might think that you're in ketosis and you should be losing weight, but you're totally derailing it. So nuts are one of the biggest triggers, and that's why I don't really recommend them on the food plan. It's like, eat lots of meat, eat lots of vegetables, but don't eat nuts, and don't eat tons of dairy, and don't try to eat tons of fat, because these are the foods that have the most calories that stall people out. And you're going to have all these keto influencers and all these people that are like, calories don't matter. It's all about your hormones. Calories do matter. If your hormones are well regulated, you'll probably be able to feel full and you won't necessarily want to keep eating. But even if you're in ketosis, if you snack on nuts, they're hyper palatable. They don't trigger satiety the way that a ribeye does, and you're probably going to overeat. So calories absolutely matter. We've proven this in laboratory settings many, many times over the years. Anybody that says that calories doesn't matter is selling you a lie, or they don't know how the body works. So I put this in the course, by the way, but what I like is the saying that calories do count. You just don't have to count your calories. Because if you're eating whole foods, if you're not eating processed foods, if you're not snacking on nuts and cheese and dairy, chances are you're going to be like, wow, I ate a steak and a pile of cauliflower. I'm full and I don't want to eat anymore because I'm bored. Like, I'm over it. But if you're eating tons of variety and sweetened foods, and it's never, one is never enough, right? So it's a lot easier to keep going. So one of the ways that I've managed to lose my weight and keep it off is the acceptance that there are some foods that even as a weight loss coach, it's very difficult for me to moderate because I have a human brain, and my human brain goes, oh, I really like that. Let's eat all of that and then start over tomorrow. We all do that. So instead of playing tug of war with my physiology, I just opted out of that system. I was like, I'm just not going to eat nuts. That's not for me. And now I don't have to worry about it anymore, right? Well, and what about people that struggle with sugar? Who's successful? They're people that go, you know what? I'm opting out. I'm not going to play this game. I'm just not going to eat sugar anymore. And they're free. And the people that are like, oh, I'm going to try to have a little bit of sugar, they're morbidly obese and diabetic. So there's quite the big contrast, right? So I'm not saying that you have to give up nuts forever, but if you do not have like structure and discipline around your portion sizes, if you can't look at yourself in the eyes in the mirror and say, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I did not go over my calories and my carbs today or this week. If you can't say that with all honesty, then you haven't yet earned the right to lose weight, because you haven't kept yourself like truly on track. The numbers could be all over the place. So in order to like make sure that you've done everything in your power to get the result that you want, you have to be willing to do the thing that we don't always want to do. Like, I don't want to track my food. I don't want to say no to pizza, but if we want to get results, those are the things that have to happen, right? And so we just have to strategize to make that easier. Okay, but here's the meal planning template. I put this in the chat. I'll upload it as well. Having a dead set goal for each week is what I need. Yep. So you just have to identify what that is. And if you backtrack, it's like, if my goal is that I want to lose 2 pounds, what's like the most efficient way to lose 2 pounds? It's probably to do intermittent fasting and extremely clean keto with no junk food. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to have breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be 3 eggs and 2 pieces of bacon. And then my lunch is going to be 5 ounces of tuna with 2 tablespoons of mayo on a bed of lettuce. And my dinner is going to be a steak with 5 ounces of asparagus with 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And Monday, bacon and eggs, right? It's like we're mapping all of this stuff out. And then you wake up and you go, I'm going to stick to my plan because I know that's the best thing that I can do to get the result that I want. So people are going to offer me crap and I'm going to say, no, my dinner is going to be salmon and asparagus with butter. And if we don't identify and really set it in stone, we're going to go through the day and be like, I'm busy and I'm stressed. I'll just eat McDonald's. So we have to like nail it down. We have to commit to it. And that's how we really make sure that, we have a dead set goal. Kate Rosie says, what do I do about storm eating? Like I want to eat everything in sight, but I'm not hungry, like the munchies, but I just finished eating. I would say that it's going to depend where it comes from. If you're not hungry, like you know inside your stomach, like, yeah, I'm full. This is just a mental hunger. There's either it's a mental thing where it's like your brain is trying to get you to eat out of routine. It's like, oh, you always eat after dinner. Go eat after dinner. It's going to feel good. And then you have that argument with the devil on your shoulder, right? And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm on a diet. And the little devil goes, yeah, but you can be good tomorrow. Don't be good tonight. And you're like, yeah, well, that's true. Like I could just be good tomorrow. And I really want that food. So yeah, I'll just be good tomorrow. So part of it is like, if I have a goal, I know that my brain is lying to me and it's sabotaging. I know that I cannot trust the instinct that comes naturally. I've been trusting the instinct that comes naturally, and that's why I'm fat. And so if I want to not be fat, I have to do the opposite of whatever my head tells me to do. So my head tells me, you're not losing fast enough. Screw it. Just eat whatever you want because who cares? It doesn't matter. And I hear that voice and I go, well, that's the opposite of what I would do if I was already skinny. If I was already healthy and off my medication, I wouldn't do that. So even though the scale is frustrating, I'm just going to not do that. Right? That's the mental game that we have to play with ourselves. It's how we talk to ourselves. And there's a big section on that in the modules in the classroom. So we have to get stronger at the mental self-talk, because any voice in your head that says, oh yeah, you should just sabotage yourself, stop listening to it. You deserve better. It's lying to you. It doesn't matter. You're going to taste some sugar and be like, oh, that's so nice. And then you're going to be over it and you're going to feel like crap. You're going to have a headache and you're going to be guilty. It's not worth it. And we get seduced and we fall for it, but we just have to be like, actually, that's a terrible idea. So part of it is that mental game. But I think the part that a lot of people struggle with the most is emotional regulation. Because if you're anxious, if you're sad, if you're bored, if you're depressed, if you don't have a lot in your life to look forward to or to feel good about, when you have a craving, it's like, well, there's an opportunity to feel something and nothing else really picks me up or makes me feel good at all. So the food is all I have. If the food is all that you have, you're never going to actually give it up, because you have a deficiency in your life and your brain thinks that it has like a serious problem that needs a solution. And if you try to take away the solution, the only coping mechanism that you have, your willpower will eventually fail. You'll go back to that maladapted coping mechanism and you'll feel like a failure. So instead of taking your coping mechanism away and being like, I don't get to eat at night, you have to decide, what do I need to do at night to reward myself after a hard day, or to not feel so lonely and bored, right? It's like, maybe I have to pick up a hobby that I do at night, or maybe I have to start going for a walk after dinner to get out of the house, right? And I've had people tell me things like, at nighttime, my husband makes advances and I don't really want to be around him and I don't want to be intimate like that. So, I hide away in the cupboard, in the pantry, and I just eat and I try to avoid my husband. Well, it might be time to like get out of the house instead, right? Tell him that, oh, I'm sorry, honey, I got to go for my walk at 7 o'clock, but figure out something to deal with whatever the thing is, right? Like if it's a mental thing, then it's a mental thing. It's like, you just have to realize, yep, I'm having thoughts because it's a habit. And I have to break the habit. I have to do something else tonight. Or if it's an emotional thing, we have to actually deal with the emotional problem. If we don't deal with the emotional problem, then we're going to still have the emotional problem in 5 minutes and the craving will come back until we eventually give in, right? Does that make sense though, Rosie? And we can talk about that more if you want to text me, but I just want to give you guys that concept. Like if there's a behavioral pattern that seems really hard to get rid of and it's like, oh, I need this, I need something to make me feel better. The thing is that food is the most easily accessible way to make yourself feel better. You still have to make yourself feel better. That's okay. We have to do it with something besides food. And so you have to decide what that's going to be and you have to practice it. Because 2 months from now, if every night you like go for a walk and you get some fresh air and you go and you enjoy, like you go out in nature and you see the beautiful sunset, like maybe that would be a thing that was really good for your mental health. And after a while, you'd be like, you know what? I don't even crave food after dinner. I really want to go see the sunset every night because that's what I do. But if you never practice doing that thing, it's never going to feel automatic. It's never going to feel, you're never going to crave the healthy coping mechanism until you reinforce it over and over and over and over again, right? So that's my spiel on that. Irregular hour days make it difficult to keep from eating late in the evening. I work a 2 to 8 shift and that day just feels crazy. Yeah, I would say like, no matter what your shift is, try to have some sort of regular eating schedule, like have a breakfast at the same time, have your lunch at the same time, have your dinner at the same time, eat enough food so you're full. And that way, like maybe if you come home at 8 o'clock and you didn't get to have a dinner, well, maybe on those nights it's okay to have a late dinner. And, don't worry about like fasting or like, oh, I should only eat from 12 to 8 or whatever. It's like just eat eat at a time where it makes sense, right? But yeah, if the day gets crazy, and especially because like they might not give you like you might not get a dinner break at like 5 or 6, right? So it just kind of depends, but you just don't want to get too hungry. Like for some people, maybe you get a 15-minute break and you have to stuff a lunch in, right? Like, and during your hour break, it's at a weird time. So I'm not too sure, but it has to be something that works for you, and you can text me about that if you want to strategize. We'll talk about that more. Sue says, I find that when I skip breakfast, I have trouble getting in my proteins and I'm trying to catch up all day. Have you tried a protein shake? Yeah. So by the way, guys, if you're trying to do like intermittent fasting and you only eat twice a day and your stomach is too full, like you might only be getting 50 grams of protein a day. And that's fine. If you feel good, if you're losing weight, it's not a big deal. But if you don't feel good, if you feel like your metabolism is slowing down and you have no energy, then you might not want to be doing intermittent fasting. You might want to do 3 meals a day and have like 30, 40 grams of protein per meal to sort of like get that metabolic fuel. For some people, they might even want to do like a meal and a snack and a meal and a snack and a meal and kind of break it up throughout the day. We tend to follow dogmatic advice, right? It's like you should only eat once a day or twice a day. And people that have had bariatric surgery cannot eat twice a day. They'll be nutrient deficient, right? People that have had their gallbladder out, it might be hard to eat lots and lots of fat in one sitting. People that are really physically active all day long, or they work out for a couple hours a day, it probably doesn't make sense to do intermittent fasting because they probably need like 2,000 calories a day to fuel themselves. If they're only eating 900 a day, their body's going to rebel against them and make them binge because it thinks it's starving to death. So, it really just kind of depends on your pattern. But one of the things that we do see very commonly in the coaching business is people that skip meals tend to have eating problems. They have a lot of problems with consistency and with overeating. So people that don't have disordered eating patterns tend to do just fine with fasting and with like large calorie deficits. People that have disordered eating patterns, one of the best ways to fix that is to eat regularly, breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? To kind of like teach their brain like, hey, we're not going to starve you to death. You're going to get every single day at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're going to get your breakfast. You're okay. It's like comforting a toddler because your brain is kind of immature and it's like scared, and you have to show it like you're not going to starve to death, so you don't need to like make a binge to prevent starvation, right? So that's why it's a weird thing, because it's like, oh yeah, but if I like fast, if I skip I'm not hungry in the morning, so I just skip my meal. Yeah, but you get really, really, really hungry later at night because it catches up to you eventually. In the morning, what do most of us do? We wake up and we drink a bunch of caffeine. Caffeine is an appetite suppressant. You don't feel the hunger that you would normally feel. Later on in the day, the appetite eventually catches up to you and it comes for you with a vengeance. And so you don't eat in the morning and you binge at night. And if you just eat in the morning, even though you might not feel hungry, but you just like get the protein anyway, it tends to stabilize you all day long. And you're able to be more consistent and have a more consistent calorie deficit because you don't have those lapses where you just like eat everything in sight. So it's one of those things that helps people a lot, is just to do those regular meals and just to do like, I have breakfast at 9 o'clock, lunch at 1 o'clock, dinner at 5 o'clock, and to have yourself on a schedule like that. Gwen says, should we eat most of our protein first, then the carbs? Yeah, you always want to hit your proteins first. If you can only eat one thing, it should be protein. If you can only eat 2 things, it should be protein and then enough fat so that you feel full. If you eat a bunch of protein and a bunch of fat, and then you have room left in your stomach, you can go ahead and eat vegetables. And then after you eat the vegetables, if you have any room left, and if you're very, very physically active, then you can eat the carbs. But if you're very, very sedentary, eat the protein and then eat the fat. And then if you're full, you don't really need to eat a lot of vegetables. You don't really need to eat a lot of carbs, because your body wants to pull from body fat and not food. And that's why ketosis works so well, is because it teaches your body, hey, we don't need carbs. We are going to tap into our storage, our fat, and we're going to pull all of the calorie energy from our fat reserves, hundreds of thousands of calories that are on our bellies, right? And So the lower carb you do, the more body fat you get to burn. But if you're trying to hit your fat macro and you're trying to like fill up your portions as much as possible, sometimes it slows the progress. So pretty much the golden rule is you want to be full enough to be able to actually like not overeat, but you don't need to stuff yourself just to hit a number for no reason. If you're already full, that's your body's way of telling you that you're ready to stop. So there's a little bit of trial and error. You sort of have to tweak your portions. You have to figure out, should I eat twice a day? Should I eat 3 times a day? But the way that you should feel is you should have lots of energy. You shouldn't be obsessed with food. You should be able to sleep pretty well and pretty comfortably. You should be able to go 4 or 5 hours between meals without really thinking about food or having any sort of like stomach gurgling, any of those symptoms of physical hunger. Once all of those things are dialed in, we know that your metabolism is in a good place. If you're hungry all the time and you're thinking about food all the time and you can't sleep and you're stressed out constantly, your metabolism is probably in shatters, and we got to fix that before we have to deal with the foundations of your metabolism before you can lose weight. Because if you're not losing weight, it's because there's already something wrong with your metabolism. More diet and more exercise will not fix that. It'll make the problem worse. So for a lot of people, it's like, you got to eat more protein. You have to sleep better. You have to drink your water. And then once you do all of that, the scale is going to start moving. All right, let's see. I have a problem eating too much fat. I think it's the cuts of meat. If you're eating too much fat in the sense that like you're overly stuffed and it's too much food, just have a slightly smaller portion. I wouldn't say to like cut the fat off necessarily, but yeah, if you're having like 500 calories worth of steak, maybe doing, cutting it into 3/4, it might balance it out a little bit better. Or if you're having like 3 tablespoons of butter on top of your vegetables, maybe do 1 or 2 tablespoons instead. And it can, because fat triggers the stretch receptors and the satiety hormones in your body. And if you eat a lot of fat, your body's going to activate that, like, oh my God, I can't eat anymore. So that's why we want to eat fat, is because we want to turn off those signals that tell us to keep eating. We don't want the signals to go, yeah, have more, have more, have more, have more. You're not done. You need more food. We want to be like, I'm tired of food. I'm over it. I'm going to go move on with my life, right? It's like freedom from the fixation and the obsession. But you also don't want to make yourself sick. So you just have to tweak it until it feels right. And that's why I want you guys to get away from like the tracking and the trying to hit certain numbers. It's like your body's going to be very good at telling you, hey, you need more food, or hey, you didn't have enough food. So that is much more helpful than, oh, I'm at 130 out of 130 grams of fat. Or, oh my gosh, I'm at 70 out of 80 protein. I'm 10 grams below, I'm going to fail. It's like, no, if you're full, don't worry about it, right? And if you're not full enough, go ahead and eat a little bit more. If you're too full, go ahead and eat a little bit less. And I mean, this sounds like it's too simple to work, right? It's like, oh yeah, but I always stall out. It's got to be more complicated than that. When was the last time you spent 12 months straight with consistency and focus and had healthy habits, ate enough protein, drank enough water, slept, exercised regularly? Very few of us have ever actually done that for a year straight. And if we did, what's the verdict? Yeah, I lost a lot of weight and I felt amazing. And then I stopped doing that and I gained all the weight back. So if we can just get better at being consistent with the basic stuff, it will work. But if we can't master the basic stuff, all the advanced stuff, the shiny object syndrome, where it's like, oh, maybe I'll try this thing and I'll go do this thing. All of that is just taking us and distracting us more and more from like actually sleeping or actually drinking water, right? Which is why I want to start with the basics. Oh, it's like Anne left. Can you put plain whey in a bulletproof coffee? Yeah, you can pretty much put anything in a bulletproof coffee. I mean, people will do eggs, people will do heavy cream, people will do coconut milk, people will do protein powder. You just got to blend it up so that it's not gross. That's pretty much the secret there. And you got to be careful too, because some things, like if you put a scoop of collagen powder in a hot coffee and then you leave it there, it's gonna like congeal. It's gonna get messed up. So you want to blend it right away to keep it sort of mixed in before it like cooks, right? So that's the nuance there. Alrighty, well, we covered a lot here tonight. This first week, it's really just about getting set up, going through the modules, asking questions, telling us like, what's your goal for the week? Where are you at? Where are you stuck? Post that in the group so that I can actually create resources for you and fast track you, right? Instead of walking you through modules that might not be relevant for you, I want to like help you fix the problem at hand. So make sure to go post it in the group or send me a message. And for everybody that's working on something this week, If I don't already have a resource, I will make one for you. And we're going to upload that so that you have it available. Other than that, if you're brand new and you haven't really started your journey, don't worry about the progress tracking this week. Just do it next Monday or sometime next week. If you've already kind of started, you're trying to like see some progress, just make sure that you do the progress review this week. You can tag me if you want me to take a look at it. If you need some accountability there. That way we can just make sure that you're getting results. If you're not getting results, make sure that you're staying in touch with me so we can troubleshoot it. Yeah, if you need extra help, you know, if you feel like you need more hand holding, more accountability, send me a message to let me know. We can do like a private call potentially. But yeah, other than that, any other questions, anything you guys need before we go for today?
No, this is good. Thanks, Alex. I liked it.
Yeah, glad to hear. Yep, and we'll definitely be working more. Starting next week, it's gonna be a lot more hands-on in terms of like, sure, we're gonna lay out your calories, we're gonna like figure out your portions, like a lot more stuff like that. But for this week, I want you guys to don't stress out like you're missing out on things or you're not gonna get results because you aren't, you know, down 5 pounds already. This is about like figuring out the process of accountability, figuring out how to structure, setting a plan, creating habits for yourself. This is the foundation so that next week when we start to get into more of like the hard, like going for the weight loss, that stuff will work and you'll be able to stick with it in between the Zoom calls, right? Because it's going to be a lot easier. All right, well, you guys have a good rest of your night. If anybody needs anything, make sure you post in the school group, tag me, let us know, ask your questions, get support, get feedback, and we'll make sure that you guys are all really, really successful. We're going to get you through the holidays. All right,
Thanks.
have a good rest of
Good
your
night.
night, guys. We'll talk soon.